So I'm chatting with our friend Matt right now. Just before we hit start, I was showing John that I was looking at this magazine called Flight Training, and it's an AOPA thing. If you are interested in flying, you can get a free subscription for students for like 6 months. And
what
so
does
they sent
AOPA
me this stuff.
stand for?
American. Wait, what does AOPA stand for? I forgot. It's
Wow.
something Pilots of America.
Well, you're like saying like it's a, the AOPA can send us like we know what the heck an AOPA is.
You know what the AOPA is.
Doctor, I'm sorry. I would love to get into your office, but I have an AOPA. I'm not going to be able to make it. It's the American Organization.
I just can't remember what it stands for. I mean, I know. Asshole. I used to know. It's just one of those things that just my head just completely blanked out on.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to not bring that up, but I didn't want people to, or you to assume that people knew what the AOPA stood for. Sorry.
It's American Organization of Aeronautic Pilots. I don't remember. Hold on. Let me look it up. Now
that would be AOAP.
Yeah, you're right. AOPA.
I know it's going to be it's the Airport Owners of Pennsylvania or some crap like that.
Right. Exactly.
I used to do some work for Ford, and they
Aircraft Owner and Pilot Association.
Okay, fine. I used to do some work for Ford, and they had acronyms for everything, not unlike several of our clients that we've done business with over the years. They've got little acronyms. If you're new, you spend half of your time figuring out what the heck the acronyms mean. Ford realized that they just had too many. So they created a team to review it, and it was kind of a joke, but kind of not. The name of the team was the Ford Acronym Review Team.
Nice.
Yeah, honey, I'm going to be
That's horrible.
I'm going to be a little late tonight. I've got a fart meeting. So true story. And I don't know how much they really engaged in the effort, and they probably usually met in bars, but it was hilarious. And I just give Ford a lot of credit, or at least the team, for coming up with that. We need to get rid of these acronyms. Let's create the Ford Acronym Review Team.
That's very clever. Okay. If whoever came up with
that, I thought so clever. Too. It was not I, but I did laugh. So I think I should be able to take some credit.
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay. So
it's the Aircraft Owners and Pilot Association.
Okay, cool.
That's all right. So, and it's funny because I grew up with it, and it's just like working for an OEM, which is also an acronym for something.
Yes.
We had those stickers on our cars. We had them, magazines all the time. Every other letter that came in seemed to be from the AOPA. So it was really disappointing. I was very frustrated there for a second, not remembering what that stood for. Thank you for, uncovering such a pain point in my life, John. Anyway,
you're welcome.
Back to chatting.
And by the way,
Matt.
OEM is original equipment manufacturer.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, those of you who aren't on our team and don't listen to the podcast or haven't worked in the auto industry, because that's, the vast majority of everyone that listens to us.
Of course.
We should just be an automotive podcast.
No, we shouldn't.
Anyway,
yes,
I was talking to our good friend Matt because I fell down a rabbit hole the other night on my phone. Yeah, I know. So, and I promise you, everyone, this all ties together at some point, but I started looking at, back up a little bit. John, you are familiar. I know you're familiar with it, but I don't know if you've watched it. Do you watch the TV show? Oh shit. That name just flew out of my head now too.
Gosh.
It's with Kevin Costner. It's
ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to know this is what happens when you turn into a geezer. And he's like 20 years younger than I am.
Or when you work really hard all week and you have to talk to your good friend John, your brain just kind of spills out your
that's
ear.
What it is.
These cans aren't holding anything in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sure it is. Nice cans, by the way.
Thanks. We talked about this show when I had my surgery. It's with Kevin Costner. He's in Montana, which they actually shoot in Utah.
Oh gosh,
Yellowstone. Yellowstone, the TV show Yellowstone on Paramount Network.
Okay, never seen it. Okay, got it. We did talk about it. You're right. Yep.
Yeah,
I have never
you've
seen it.
got to see it. And I told Matt this
Okay.
earlier too. He's got to see this because we were
Dude,
talking about.
I'm sorry. I am in the middle of Outlander right now. I cannot be bothered.
It's better than Outlander.
Shut up.
It's better than Outlander.
Okay,
I shit
I'm
you
putting
not.
it on my list. You said it's Netflix?
No, it's the Paramount Network. So anyway, I was talking to Matt about this, and we both, as much as we like to work, and as much as we like to be where there's a hustle and bustle, there's still part of us, and I know we've talked about this, John, on the podcast before and in person, how it would be nice to just go out into the middle of nowhere and have a whole bunch of land and just not have to put up with people anymore. It's too peoply out there, right?
Yeah.
So I was talking about Yellowstone and what the story is kind of about and recommending that he watch it. And he was talking about, and I said, I would love to move west. And he's like, I think I'd prefer something like West Virginia. I'm like, why would you want to be in West Virginia? Nothing wrong with West Virginia, but when you've got that wide open space out in the West, it would be lovely. So I shared with him my rabbit hole, which is landwatch.com. John, you're nodding, so you've probably been up there.
Yep. Been there.
And there are things like I'm looking at one right now, Rosebud County, Montana, 321 acres for $99,000.
What?
It's like, yeah. So I mean, there are acreages up there that are $1 million plus, but you will find in some of these places 200, 300 acres for fairly inexpensive in the grand scheme of things.
Pictures?
Granted, like this one in Nebraska. Yeah, they show you pictures. Like I'm going to show one to John right now.
Yeah.
See, that one's just perfectly flat land, but it's 229 acres for $109,000. Yeah. Wow. So, they've got stuff like that, but they've got some nice land and it's all over the country. So I went down that rabbit hole and I was on it for hours last night. And I found a piece of land in my native state of Minnesota up in the Boundary Waters area.
Yeah.
Not in the Boundary Waters, but just in that general area. And it was 230 or 280 acres in the Boundary Waters with a cabin and a landing strip.
Really?
Yes.
How much?
So I was getting all excited. So well, it was about 280,000. So it was like $1,000 an acre. It was really inexpensive. And I'm like, I'd jump all over that if I could talk my family into moving to northern Minnesota. But I was joking with Matt because I shared that land watch with him. And I told him, I said, I forgot to tell you that the land that I was talking about in Minnesota has a landing strip. And he said, could I land an Eclipse 550 on it? That's the one I'm starting over with instead of the Cirrus, joking. And it's a small, very fast jet. And I said, it's grass up north. You wouldn't want to fly anything much more than a Cessna 182. I'd have to enlarge it about 500 feet to be able to fly my Bonanza in, because you were talking about the Bonanzas earlier. Yeah. And he said, dude, that's like putting wings on a Sentra. No, thank you.
That's pretty good. That sounds like Matt. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was hilarious.
That's great. So just a couple of things, not to draw away from that. That's awesome. Wings on a Sentra. That actually would be an option that maybe they could throw on there. And would you like it with or without the wings? I think it'd be fine.
They have those flying cars that are like that.
That's right. That's the closing question when you're selling flying cars. You want that with or without the wings? I read a story about a guy that bought some land sight unseen. Read a story or saw it. I saw it on YouTube. And the owner of the adjacent land was recording the YouTube video and said, this guy bought the land sight unseen. There's no access. He had to come through this guy's land in order to get to his. And he said, you can't go online and just buy land without researching to find out, A, can you get there? B, can you drill? If you're going to do a well or whatever. But, oh my gosh. And by the way, while I'm thinking about it, if you're looking at Boundary Waters and you want to talk your family into it, take them now.
Exactly. Right. That is exactly it.
Poddius interruptus.
So that coming full circle, John, that leads me back to the magazine that I was reading, because we're talking about, and I showed you this earlier, towered airport traffic pattern operations,
Yeah.
which flying into that little strip in Minnesota would not have a tower.
You think?
Yeah, no, not a tower at all. I'd be surprised if it even had its own pattern.
I doubt it.
So, and not just with Yellowstone, but also some of the flying videos that I know you watch as well. Trent Palmer and
Yep.
and Marcinko.
Yep.
Those are really, really fun to watch. And that's pretty much what they live, I think, in Idaho or Utah or something like that. And they fly around.
Have you seen Trent Palmer's house that he
Yes.
built?
Yeah.
Gosh, is that awesome?
It is awesome. I'm surprised at how expensive it was, though, for prefab.
But did you link to the house? Did you happen to follow his link to the houses?
I
They're
did.
really cool. I showed Lisa and I'm like, we could so do this.
Yeah.
And not that one. I mean, that one was awesome with the 3-car garage and everything. But I mean, you can, for $300,000 buying the property and all the, I guess assembly and all of that too. If you can find the right contractor to do it, it's not a bad deal.
No, it's not a bad deal at all. But going back to your point, you have to be careful about the land you buy too. So my dad has 700 acres in North Dakota, which the people out there call that a hobby farm because it's so small.
Yes.
And I'm looking at this app or this website going 200, 300 acres. That's a lot. And that's nothing for them. No. Anyway, when he bought it, and I think he did know what he was doing when he bought it, but you actually have the option to buy two different things when you buy property out west. You can buy the land, which gives you, I think, the first 6 feet of topsoil or something like that.
Jeez.
And then you can buy the mineral rights. So, you could pick up 300 acres for $100,000, but you're not buying the mineral rights. So the people that still own the mineral rights can opt to have someone come in and drill on your land. They might give you something if they're really nice, just because they're taking up some of your topsoil, but it's pennies compared to what they're going to be making on the minerals underneath your property.
So why don't you not buy the land, just buy the mineral rights? Do it.
Yeah, you could technically if they wanted to give them up, but there are some of these. So you could look at one listing that's 300 acres for $12 million, and then the next one could be right next door, and it's 300 acres for $100,000 or $300,000.
Yeah,
and the biggest difference is one you're buying the mineral rights, and one you're not.
Wow.
Yeah,
jeez. It just doesn't. I mean, is drilling in Montana really?
It's a huge thing.
But I know it's huge in certain areas of the Dakotas, and especially for what's it called now?
Williston, up in Williston.
In Williston, but what are they drilling for, or what are they using?
The fracking.
Fracking. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word because I'm old. So yeah, that's a boon for them. Of course, I'm not sure it'll stay that way if there is an environmentalist in the Oval Office next,
right?
Because who knows, that could be shut down. Anyway,
well, they're suffering a little bit. They're not as big as they once were,
right?
At least that's what my dad said. He's only about 2 hours south of Williston.
Okay,
and he does have. If you drive up to his place, you'll pass oil rigs.
Yeah, well, but I guess what I'm wondering is on 700 acres by your dad or on your dad's property, if he doesn't own the mineral rights, what are the chances they're going to drill specifically on your property? I mean,
they're really good if those people want to. The people that own his mineral rights, it's the family that used to own all of the property in the area, and it's a group of people. Like there's 10 people. So I honestly don't know why they haven't already, and I assume that it's maybe because they like my dad, but they own some of the property around it, or the mineral rights around, and they've already started drilling in those areas. You can see an oil rig from his house.
Yeah.
That's on someone else's property.
So, I mean, I don't question it. I guess if I own the mineral rights, I would, but I mean, there has to be some rhyme or reason or science behind it that's defining why they're drilling there as opposed to somewhere else that they own.
I don't know for all of the property, but I would assume that on one of the plateaus that he has on his property, there's actually if you walk up there, especially in the spring, you can't really see it in the summer, but in the spring, you can still see rock formations where they set up teepees. The Native Americans set up teepees for a specific. It was for a specific reason. They didn't just go up there and camp. It was for some sort of I don't want to say festival, but some sort of yearly
gathering of some sort or
yeah,
celebration.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he's got there's some history on his property.
Interesting.
And that might be why that they don't drill
Sure.
there, because that's pretty much the only one of maybe 3 spots on his property that's flat. The rest of it's very rocky and very not mountainy, but got a lot of elevations to it.
Don't have to mow it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think about that stuff too, and really those, people think, oh, it's a prefab home, so that it's got to be a piece of crap. These homes that Palmer built, to me, that's very cool. It seemed
the
quality and nice. I mean, it came with everything, cabinets and the complete fabrication includes everything, the trim out on the inside of the house. And anyway, I could see that. I think that would be awesome, but I don't want to dump, I guess hundreds of them, because then suddenly it has to become your primary residence, or if you're in my tax bracket, it's got to be your primary residence. No, I have 6 $300,000 houses all over the country. No, that's not me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, I agree with you. I would love to be able to do that. And I do. Jen and I have decided we want to stay in this house for as long as we can because we love this house. But if we are going to move at any point in the future, the next thing we're going to do, because we haven't experienced it and we've been told it's a horrible thing to do, but we still want to do it. And that is build our house, build exactly the house we want.
Yep.
That's if we don't buy a trailer or a van to drive around the country.
Yeah, you are the same as I am, going in 10 different directions. I need to have a massive, like a storage facility for all the vehicles I want.
Yep.
Today, I feel like taking the 5th wheel out. And of course, I'm going to need the RV hauler, which is a semi tractor that will haul it because, why not? And then I'm going to want the little teardrop camper I would never want one of those, too small. But yeah, so we want, yes, exactly. I'll be peeing outside again. But things like, I guess it's, Palmer has one too. I'm talking like I know him, the bush plane. I would love a bush plane. Those things are amazing. Yeah, his Kit Fox, right?
The one thing I'm so shocked about something like a Kit Fox or a Cub, a Carbon Cub, is these are tiny airplanes.
Yep.
They are STOL aircrafts. Here's another acronym: STOL Aircraft, short takeoff and landing. But these little things are twice as much as a Bonanza.
Oh, are they really?
Oh, they're so expensive.
Oh, I had no idea.
But they're really cool. And for those of you who don't watch those types of videos or know anything about a STOL aircraft,
you mean normal people?
Normal people, right? Or those Kit Fox specifically, but I do think some of the Pipers can be retrofitted to that. They have Lycoming engines, which mean you can actually put regular fuel. So like 98 octane fuel from a gas station, you can put in the airplane and fly, as well as avgas, which is aviation fuel, which is closer, even I think above 100 octane, something like that. So they still need higher octane fuel for the engines, but they can literally fly up and land in front of a gas station somewhere and fill up.
Yeah. In fact, I think I've seen him or one of those guys do that.
They've done it a number of times. Yeah.
They just pull up at the gas station. Hello. I mean, that would probably give you pause to.
Have you noticed every time they show that to you, someone walks up to them because they know their channel?
Sure. Oh, probably so.
It's like, we watch you all the time. It's very nice to meet you. Yeah.
That's amazing. But when you look at those numbers, 1.8 million subscribers, it probably shouldn't surprise us. It's right. It's incredible how many people follow them, and you and I, of course, have spoken about this, but it's one of those things that I mean, I will look at the 300 channels I follow and how many do I actually engage with, but oh my gosh, it's a cool thing. But I love the short takeoff and landing, especially the takeoff. I mean, they can do it in like 100 yards or less. It's
It
incredible
is
how
incredible.
fast the Kit Fox will get up in the air. So when you talk about expensive, how much are we talking about?
I think his is right around $180,000 to $200,000.
Wow.
And granted, that's with everything on it. But I did look up Kit Fox before, and just a base Kit Fox. I need you to start filling in words here while I look it up. But words, not sounds.
Because I'm a lot better at sounds than I am at words.
Kit
Barnyard
Fox.
animals.
Marcinko, what's his first name? Jonas Marcinko. He just sold his Kit Fox.
Did he?
To someone here in Tennessee. Yeah, the latest videos are them flying from Idaho down to Texas, up through, and then someone in Knoxville, Tennessee bought it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So a ready to fly Kit Fox. Hold on. This is Wikipedia, so that's probably not where I need to go.
Well, if you can't trust Wikipedia, who can you trust? I had to finish it
because I'm not paying attention to you.
Staring on his phone. That's actually, we do some of our best broadcasting when you aren't paying attention.
Yeah. So if you want an actual Kit Fox kit.
Yep. That's redundant.
It is Kit Fox kit. Why are you not showing me the price of a Kit Fox kit? The engine is the one that's the most expensive.
As opposed to what?
As opposed to the rest of the airplane.
The windshield is the most expensive. Of course, the engine is the most expensive.
Yep. All right. So he has an STI, which is a STOL Performance aircraft.
Okay. Short takeoff and landing.
Yep. So a super standby. I'm looking. It's not a speedster.
I like that you say standby. You're like a professional.
Standby.
Standby.
All right. So Kit Fox,
and we're live.
Super Sport,
3,
which is the S7.
Yes, Super Sport.
This is to build it. This isn't completed. So if you ordered it and brought it in, and I believe, I'm just making sure this is the one, if it comes with the engine or not, or if you have to buy the engine separately.
I swear I am at least as enthralled as our audience is right
I know.
now. Okay.
Well, it's $29,900 for the body, and it doesn't say if you have to order the engine or not.
$29,900 just for the body. Okay.
Just for the body.
I guess that makes sense because it's pretty amazing and of course incredibly strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Structurally.
Yep.
When you see some of these bush planes land with the massive wheels and how the gear flexes when they hit it's incredible.
It is incredible. And this is the base package.
Okay.
You know, this is nothing. An STI. I'm sorry. I was looking at the Sportster, the STI, which is the one he has, and it does not include the engine. So the engine is extra. So the base model is $35,900 to build it.
The base model, like no power windows and power locks and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Cassette player.
Plastic windows, fabric body.
The fabric body.
They're all fabric body. These are not metal bodies. They're fabric. Yeah, a lot of these airplanes are still considered fabric body airplanes because they stretch the fabric over the wings.
Okay, I did not realize that.
Yeah,
that's not aluminum.
No, it's not aluminum.
But the superstructure is aluminum.
Yes, inside the Kit Fox is superstructure. Now, if you go to a Carbon Cub, some of the earlier model Carbon Cubs were all wood with a fabric covering.
Like the Spruce Goose.
Yep. So it's a polyfiber 2.7 ounce stamped certified fabric is what the covering materials are on the wings.
That is interesting. Yep. I did not know that even after watching them fly and all of that. I did not realize it was.
Yeah, that's what makes them so light.
Fabric.
Yes, they're all fabric.
Wow. Well, so have you seen, oh gosh, I can't think of this guy's name. The guy with the wing that,
yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yes, I follow him too.
I'll think of his name. He's awesome. And just a good guy. I'll find him before we're done with the show, but, he is, I mean, his motors that he wears on his back are incredibly expensive.
Yes.
And, of course. Yeah. Wow. It's more expensive than the wing. Yeah. Heck yeah. Because it's the thing, the wing can help you glide, but the engine typically helps you take off and land and all of that. So anyway, pretty impressive stuff.
I'm
And you
looking
can
up
tell
the
we didn't
engines now too.
care. Are you look at the motors? Let's find one. So, I mean, what it comes down to then, it seems like, is so 35 grand to me for just the body
hmm
doesn't seem that crazy. I mean,
But that's if you build it.
yeah.
So if you have them build it, it's probably twice as much.
Okay, well, fine. I'm just talking about let's start with the parts or whatever. Let's put it together, or let's at least find out what the cost is. So looking at the the body itself, and then the engine, and then what does it cost to get somebody to assemble it? Do you just hire a contractor?
No, they will. Well, you probably could.
Yeah, I'd like a bathroom on this one.
The company will build it itself. Okay, so the cheapest Lycoming engine, which is the engine that goes in these airplanes normally.
Wait. So this is not what I normally think when I think, what kind of an engine would let's save some money and get the cheapest engine.
Well, the cheapest is also got the least power.
Okay.
So the standard build, cheapest, lowest power engine is 25.9.
Okay, so let's get to a nicer one.
The nicest one, which is got 260 horsepower, which is 100 more horsepower.
Yep.
Standard built.
Yep.
46.7.
46.7. Okay, so that's 46.7 plus 35. So you're talking about 80 grand, and you
have to build it yourself.
Well, yeah. So how much? How much are you going to pay somebody to build it?
Hold on, I've got to go back now.
80 grand, and let's say it's 100 grand to have somebody put it together. Here's my stuff. Assemble it.
Yep.
Here's
pretty much.
Did you ever put together model airplanes?
I did.
I have a larger scale one for you.
Yeah.
And apparently it's 100 grand to put it together, if we're going by his 180 figure that you mentioned. Yes, John.
Yes, John. Whatever you say, John.
I think that John is the handsomest potty mouth podcaster. Say yes, John.
Yes, John.
He's not. That's a lie. This is how
I did hear you.
You're not listening.
I'm listening, sort of.
No, you are not. And I can see him. This is the beauty, potty mouthers, of us being able to see one another using Squadcast, because I can watch him and see if he's paying attention. He's on his phone, probably texting people. But he claims
I'm looking up Kit Fox prices.
Kit Fox stuff to keep you guys enthralled, because this is an enthralling piece of content. You know what would make this better? If we actually prepared for podcasts.
That would be nice. Yeah, and have all this information right at hand.
No, it wouldn't. So the kid I was talking about with the wing, Tucker Gott.
Tucker Gott,
yeah. And he's
he's got his girlfriend or wife with him most of the time, right?
I think girlfriend, but I could be wrong. He's a young kid. He's in his low 20s, I think. But but just a nice, well-adjusted kid, and has a good head on his shoulders, and a good. So I guess I question, why wouldn't he? Is there a next level with that when you have the flying wing with the engine on your back? Don't you at some point
flying a regular airplane?
Well, yeah, at some point, don't you say that? Although I gotta say, it's just such a cool thing to watch him take off. And he's at a park or at a McDonald's. He lands at McDonald's. Have you seen that episode?
I have seen that episode, yeah.
He just sets the engine off to the side and folds up the wing, and he goes in and orders a Big Mac or something, and then flies home. Eats the Big Mac in the air. He did. It's awesome.
So what
camera and everything.
What I saw is it would cost, and there weren't any final numbers. I was just getting it off of what people were saying. Costs about $95,000 for a base plane for them to build it. But you can pick up an old one. There's one here that's on Trade a Plane.
Yep.
For 65 grand, and it's a 2016.
Oh, well, that's terribly old.
Yeah, right. With technology,
but it's a Kit Fox, and with the engine. Oh, it's a base. Okay,
it's a base.
So whatever.
It's
I
got the
mean,
big tires.
so for 70 grand, you could probably 75 grand, you could probably get an upgraded, nicer pre-owned one.
Yep.
And I think, as with most airplanes, that's all. I mean, really? They stay in the air. You can find Cessnas that are, 1960s,
Yes,
1970s, still
1950s. Yeah.
flying. Yeah.
Yeah. There are actually a few Bonanzas that are 1945,
Wow.
46.
Well, and to say nothing of the twin wings, what do they call them? The double wings,
Oh, the
the
biplanes?
biplanes for 1940s and 30s even,
Yeah.
and perhaps even before. But it's amazing to me because who buys new ones?
Yeah, I know. Very few people, unless they're buying a Cirrus.
Which apparently is more affordable.
No, Cirrus, they're $300,000 brand new.
So why somebody buy them new as opposed to a pre-owned one?
Well, a lot of people, there's a great pre-owned market for, but they don't really, that's the thing with airplanes. They don't really lose their value. My stepfather's airplane, it was a 1977 Bonanza V35B, V-tail Bonanza.
Yep.
And that retails, a 1978 retails for about $140,000 right now.
Oh, wow. Now,
when it was new,
right,
it was only about $50,000 or $60,000. And now a new Bonanza, they don't make the V-tails anymore, but a new Bonanza will cost you upwards of $200,000 easily.
Sure. Well, of course.
So,
because at some point it's just like a vehicle, or any vehicle, you get to a point where it's X more to get a new one.
Right.
Why would you buy a 20-year-old one or a 10-year-old one even?
Yeah. Well, but cars are different. Cars will lose their value unless they become a classic and you take really good care of it. An airplane never really loses.
Sure. But it's always a choice.
Yes.
It's always a choice. So the market adjusts itself accordingly. I mean, if I can accomplish the same thing with a 1978 Bonanza as I can with a brand new one, there's going to be a market for that. But
absolutely,
there still has to be a spread of, $100,000.
Sure.
Ish.
And there's also supply and demand. So Cessna and Piper made so many aircraft. They made thousands upon thousands of Cessna 150s, which are the two-seater training planes. It's the one everyone uses to train in. Not everyone, but a lot of people use to train in.
Yep.
So you can pick one up for $20,000.
Wow.
From the 50s, 60s, 70s, you can get one for $20,000, $25,000. Whereas the V-tail Bonanza, they made a lot, but they didn't make as many as Cessna, so they tend to hold their value a little bit better.
Sure.
Simple supply and demand.
Well, and let's face it, that's what everything is. In our business too, it's the same thing. It's supply and demand. And so oftentimes if you can manage that correctly, the supply and demand are very close. I mean, from an OEM standpoint, there we go again. From a manufacturer's standpoint, they want to manage the supply to feed the demand.
Right.
Years ago when Honda and Acura, I think about in particular. Remember the Honda Prelude? The two-door sports car. It was one of those vehicles that everybody wanted. And I worked at a dealership that sold them new. And it was just a line of people. That's all it was. And you put your name on the list. Yeah, it'll be in 5 months. And what's your favorite color choice? Okay, second favorite. Oh, it has to be black. Okay, end of the line. Next. And that's how it went.
Yeah.
And we used to joke about the Honda salespeople, because I sold another brand, that if they ever really had to sell, they wouldn't have any idea how to do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, no offense to Honda salespeople now.
Right. And I think the automotive world could probably learn a lot from the aviation retailers or even manufacturers, because you look at some of those old airplanes and the people are still flying them from the 50s and 60s. What's changed? Well, not much. The instrument clusters are interchangeable.
Sure.
You pull out the steam gauges and you can put in computers, and now the airplane's updated. There's a mandate, there's a law that every airplane, after a certain amount of hours, the engine has to be overhauled. That's what keeps them flying. There's so many mandates, there's so many rules that you have to follow to make sure that the plane is airworthy. if we did that same sort of thing with cars or made things interchangeable, we'd probably see a lot more cars on the road last a lot longer.
Yes,
But
and
we don't want to do that because we wouldn't make
yeah,
any money.
yes and no. I mean, the technology in vehicles has come such a long way, and it seems like there's way more integration in a vehicle than there is in a plane. For example, airbags. That's not something you would really need in an airplane.
Well, and you say that, and that's why Cirrus exists. Cirrus is one of those aircrafts that have the parachute.
Yep, yep, and those are. Uh, it reminds me of the advertisement in the online. Let's say it wasn't in a newspaper. There's an advertisement for a parachute for sale, and only used once, never opened. So it makes it much more valuable, of course. But some of the stuff on the ground, I mean, you have to do. There's an aircraft just by its nature that does certain things. I mean, you land, you don't have to stop on a dime. You land as long as you can navigate to the ground. You taxi then. And with a car, you slam on the brakes because everybody's at the same altitude in a car.
Right, right.
So
No, there are definitely a lot of things that the cars have that will, change the way. I'm just talking about simple technologies. It's
sure.
It's why do you want the newest and best car? It's because my old car didn't have Apple CarPlay and the new car would.
Yeah.
I can't just take my iPhone out of one. Well, technically, I can't just take my iPad and plug it in and run the car.
Yep.
Whereas an airplane, you can do that. You literally take your iPad, plug it in, and now that's everything.
It's your controls, and it's pretty amazing when you think about it. But for vehicles, and I think Elon Musk has probably touched on that as much as anybody has.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, I just looked at a new report. Can't recall who it was from, but according to probably a JD Power thing, the most problems per thousand vehicles, it was Tesla.
Really?
They were number one for having the most problems.
Interesting.
And so, but what is even further interesting to me about that is they can fix them via the internet.
Right.
So they're connected, and it's a software issue often. And, so you don't have to necessarily take them somewhere, but it's still a problem nonetheless.
Absolutely.
So
that's crazy.
It is.
That's crazy.
And it's kind of an interesting change of what the standard is in the industry.
My whole point to that, though, is just airplanes last a long time. Motorhomes can last a long time. Mm-hmm. People are taking old vans and redoing them and turning them in motorhomes.
Yep.
And Terry, actually, from our last one, which I do need to make one quick correction from last week, but hold on just a second.
Sure.
Terry sent me a meme earlier this week, and it was a motorhome. After he listened to the episode, a motorhome that dropped a car out of the body. It was a little Mini.
Seen that.
And then I was like, oh, that is so cool. But anyway, the correction. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's a Mini. I've seen some with smart cars. I would much rather have a Mini, and that's kind of a tip of the hat to our friend Bill because he owns a Mini.
Does he really?
Loves it. Yep.
Interesting. Interesting. A lifelong GM man driving a BMW.
Way to throw him under the bus. How nice of you.
Right?
Yeah. But I've seen him.
That out.
I would drive one, and Bill is a pretty tall guy too, and I think it would be a fun car to drive.
Oh, absolutely! I've driven one. One of my dealers, the dealer I worked for, the first dealer I ever worked for, we had one on the lot that was for sale, and my wife always wanted one, so I actually drove it home one night to see if she wanted it.
Cool.
She didn't, but it was fun to drive anyway.
And real quickly, BMW. Speaking of that, my buddy Matt went to the driving school in Greenville, Spartanburg area, and the BMW driving school. He said it was the most incredible. And he starts talking about it, and he's just like this and gets all excited and enthused. And he said, "I want to go now."
Yeah.
So we've talked about actually going back.
That
was
would be fun.
An M2.
Nice.
And was, oh my gosh, he said it just everything he thought he understood about the limits of vehicles totally changed.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
just as an aside, sorry.
Well, if you ever go, take me with you.
I will. That would be awesome.
That would be a lot of fun.
Let's
We
fly
could
down with our
potty
Kit
mouth from that.
Fox.
There you go.
We'll fly
Well,
down
you
with our
fly in
Kit
your Kit
Fox.
Fox. I'll fly in my Bonanza. I'll see you in about 3 days because I'll be there so much faster.
That's okay. I won't mind because I'll be landing at gas stations filling
Good
up.
point. Good.
Yeah.
Now there's I can't remember his first name, but Guthmeiler.
Well, I don't know.
He's another pilot, young
Okay.
kid, flies an A36, a Bonanza with the T-tail.
Okay.
And he just did one in the West where he was landing on roads and stuff too. So
Wow.
you can land. That's the neat thing about the Bonanzas. You can land them in a lot of these places where all these other planes are landing.
Sure.
They have the gear is sturdy enough to do it. You just don't really want to wreck it. It's like taking a Mercedes off road. Yeah. You can do it because they're 4-wheel drive.
Sure.
But do you really want to?
Is it retractable gear or is it
Bonanzas? No, they're retractable.
So you're landing a retractable gear plane off road. It can do it.
It can. Yeah. They're built sturdy enough to land on an aircraft carrier. That's what my stepfather and stepmother used to say. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they're hardy airplanes. There's a reason they're so popular. Yeah. Anyway, I need to make my correction.
Do it.
Last week we talked about trucking versus dollying, and I said trucking was going back and forth and dollying was side to side. I had that reversed. Trucking is side to side. No,
we were talking about panning. I thought.
Yeah, we were talking about panning, but I was mentioning trucking versus
got it.
Trucking is side to side, and dollying is backwards and forwards.
And Terry had to fix you for that?
No, I fixed myself.
Oh,
it was one of those things. Like I was like, what? Because I was listening to the episode and while I was editing, and I'm like, no, I had that wrong. That's backwards. And then I looked it up just to make sure I was right about being wrong.
You are so conscientious.
Well, I wanted to make sure. I want to make sure our listeners get the proper information.
Well, do you think actually they're saying to people, no, I know it's trucking because I heard it on PoddiMouths?
Yes, absolutely. No, not at all. I don't even think they care. They probably stopped listening at that point.
I know I did.
Yeah. I know you did.
I did not.
I could see it. I can watch all the metrics.
No, that's not true. That's the only metric.
That's not true. I didn't even start listening.
I never stopped. Yeah, it doesn't count. Oh, that's very cool. That is nice of you to do that. But so
I will admit when I'm wrong, unlike some other people I know.
Yeah, it's just it just happens so often. It's got to get tiring for you. So
for you, huh?
It's never happened to me.
I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken.
I was mistaken. Did you talk to Terry about coming on? I would love to have him on. He'd be
I mentioned it. We didn't schedule anything, but yes, I did mention it.
We should do that. That would be fun. And I would like to hear, because he's taken delivery of his Class 8 now.
He's got it. Yep.
For a while. It would be fun to hear what some of his adventures have been.
Yes, it would. Absolutely.
On his YouTube channel. Well, that's what we need to do.
Yeah, he should set up a YouTube channel. Okay, we'll talk him into that on the show.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good. Don't tell him anybody.
Yeah.
We're going to surprise him.
Maybe by then he'll have instead of just the mask, he'll have a PoddiMouths shirt as well that he's getting from our merch store, which we set up a couple of weeks ago now, that you can find where, John?
PoddiMouths.com, PoddiMouths.com.
I'm going to pay for that again. Yes, darn it. I really get all the money that we're getting in merch is going to ASCAP BMI. Yeah, exactly. But if you have anything to say about all of the flying talk we were talking about, or finding land out west, you know who would be a good person to talk to about land out in the West? Because a lot of the stuff that shows up on this app or the website that we were talking about earlier is in Arizona. And we know someone who listens to this podcast who has land in Arizona.
We do.
Maybe she can comment. I mean, she has been commenting a ton. Maybe she'll comment some more.
Do you know why she comments? Because we suck so badly, and she always is correcting us. And
I didn't think it was because we sucked. It was because we were dumbasses.
Okay. Yeah. I thought those were interchangeable.
Well, I mean, if she's listening, we obviously don't suck. We're just dumb.
Or she's trying to catch us doing something wrong.
It could be. It could be.
We don't care why you listen, as long as you listen.
Exactly. That is exactly it. And if you are trying to catch us in something, Put it on our social media.
Do it. And
Which you can also find out.
All of those at PoddiMouths.com.
Anyway, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. I hope you had, we never even talked about what you did on the 4th of July.
Not going to.
Because it's weird because it's during the week. We didn't do anything. We heard the fireworks off in the distance. They closed down. So Nashville closed down all of the festivals. Yep. So if you wanted to watch the fireworks, you either had to just drive downtown and hope you could find a parking spot, or get invited to someone's rooftop bar, which they were all limited and $300 a person.
Yeah, just go to your nearest redneck, and they will have, like the one who has the shop teacher finger.
Right.
The finger's blown off.
That was really good. He's doing the fake finger, missing finger thing.
How do you know it was fake? Maybe it's real.
On that note, John, talk to you next week, everybody.
See ya.